In the year 2000, Netflix was almost dead. They were out of money, out of time, and completely out of options. So Reed Hastings did the only thing he could think of. He flew to Dallas, walked into Blockbuster's headquarters, and asked them to buy his company for $50 million. Blockbuster said no, and laughed. That one decision didn't just kill Blockbuster, it handed Netflix the fuel it needed to become a $300 billion company. This is the story of the biggest missed opportunity in business history. But before we get there, let's talk about why Blockbuster felt untouchable. Because they weren't arrogant for no reason. It's 1995. Friday night in America has a ritual. You get in the car, you drive to the video store, you walk the aisles, you pick something out, and if the copy you wanted was already gone, you settled for whatever was left. There was no other option. And Blockbuster owned that moment completely. By 1995, they had over 4,000 stores across the US. By 1999, that exploded to nearly 9,000 locations worldwide. Japan, Australia, the UK. At their peak, Blockbuster was opening a new store every 17 hours. Every Mustang 17 hours. They were making $6 billion a year. They had 60,000 employees. Their CEO, John Antioco, was one of the most celebrated executives in American retail. Blockbuster wasn't just winning, they were the entire game. And that's exactly what made them so vulnerable. Now let's talk about the other side of this story. Reed Hastings, 1997. He returns a copy of Apollo 13 6 weeks late, gets hit with a $40 late fee, and walks out of the store furious. Not just about the money, about the principle of it. Why does renting a movie have to feel like a punishment? So he builds Netflix. The idea is simple. You go online, pick your movies, they mail you the DVDs, you mail them back when you're done. Flat monthly fee, no late fees, no due dates. Clean, simple, and almost completely ignored. DVD players weren't in most homes yet. The internet was still dial-up, and convincing someone to trust a website with their credit card, that was a hard sell in 1997. For years, Netflix barely kept the lights on. Then the dot-com bubble burst in 2000 and the whole tech industry collapsed. Netflix was burning through cash, losing millions, running out of runway. Hastings knew the math. He needed a partner, fast. And he thought he'd found one. Here's the part of this story that still feels unreal. Hastings calls Blockbuster, gets the meeting, flies to Dallas with his co-founder Mark Randolph, walks into their headquarters, and makes the pitch. Buy Netflix for $50 million. We'll run your online business. You promote us in your stores. Together, we own the future of home entertainment. $50 million. For Netflix in the year 2000. Netflix is now worth over $300 billion, and according to people who were in that room, Blockbuster didn't just say no, they laughed. John Antioco called Netflix a small and niche business and ended the meeting. Now, here's what most people get wrong about this moment. Antioco wasn't stupid. He'd already turned Blockbuster around once before. He was a legitimate executive, but he was sitting on top of a $6 billion empire, and he was being asked to spend $50 million on a money-losing DVD mail startup. That's the trap. When you're at the top, threats look small. They look manageable. They look like someone else's problem. Hastings flew home with nothing. No deal, no money, no backup plan. But that rejection? That was the best thing that ever happened to Netflix. Because being turned away forced Hastings to go all in. No safety net, no partner, no choice but to make it work alone. Netflix doubled down on their subscription model. They built a recommendation algorithm years ahead of anything else. They studied their customers obsessively, and they moved fast. Meanwhile, Blockbuster finally started paying attention. In 2004, John Antioco launched something called Blockbuster Total Access. Order movies online, return them at any store, swap them for free in store rentals. Online and physical combined, and it worked. By 2007, Total Access had over 2 million subscribers. Netflix was bleeding customers. Reed Hastings later said, publicly, that this was the biggest threat Netflix had ever faced. He was scared. Think about that. 7 years after that meeting in Dallas, 7 years after they laughed him out of the room, Blockbuster still had a chance. They could have won this, but then the board stepped in. Total Access was expensive, hundreds of millions to run. Activist investors revolted. They forced Antioco out. The one person who actually understood the threat pushed out the door. His replacement, a man named Jim Keyes, who said in 2008, and I want you to really hear this, I've been in the business long enough to recognize that Netflix doesn't really have or do anything we can't or don't already do ourselves. 2008. 2 years later, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. And while Blockbuster's board was feeling confident, Netflix was building the future. In 2007, the exact same year Total Access was threatening them, Netflix launched streaming. No discs, no waiting. just press play. The library was small at first, the tech wasn't perfect, but the direction was clear, and Blockbuster, the company with 9,000 stores and $6 billion in revenue, killed the one program that could have saved them, and went back to doing things exactly the way they'd always done them. The stores started closing, first dozens, then hundreds, then all of them. Today, there's exactly one Blockbuster left on Earth, in Bend, Oregon. It's a tourist attraction. People drive hours just to take a photo out front, the way you'd visit a ruin. Netflix, 260 million subscribers, 190 countries, Academy Awards, a market cap over $300 billion. The company that was laughed out of a boardroom in Dallas didn't just survive, they won everything. So could Blockbuster have won? Yes, easily. At multiple points in this story, they had every advantage: the brand, the cash, the customers, the infrastructure. They even had a program in total access that was genuinely working. What they didn't have was the willingness to be wrong. And that's the real lesson here. Not embrace new technology, everyone says that. The real lesson is this: the bigger you get, the harder it becomes to take small threats seriously. Because taking them seriously means admitting that everything you've built could be temporary. And that's a feeling most people, and most companies, will do almost anything to avoid. Blockbuster's downfall wasn't ignorance, it was certainty. Certainty that the stores would always matter. Certainty that Netflix was someone else's problem. Certainty that a DVD startup wasn't worth $50 million. Reed Hastings walked out of Dallas with nothing. No check, no partner, no safety net. But being rejected forced Netflix to become something Blockbuster never had to be: hungry. And in business, hungry always beats comfortable. The most dangerous competitor you'll ever face isn't the giant in the room. It's the one you laughed at on the way out.